Hi, everybody. I hope you're all well. Thank you for joining me and spending time with me. Today, I want to run through a couple of terms and royal rules and laws with you because although I've done so before, new people have since joined. And I think in order to understand the fundamental issues we have with Harry and Meghan, we need to understand how the royal family operates. We ended the last video on King Charles's salary cut, okay, or at least the sovereign grant, which is being cut from 25% to 12%. But unfortunately, and regardless of all the bold headings, that cut is actually a raise and not a cut at all. A £40 million raise, to be exact. So let me explain. There had been increased interest and requests for some transparency as far as the royal family is concerned. Unfortunately, senior royals, and in particular the king, have an absolute exemption from the Freedom of Information Act. Those of you who also follow me on my other channel will know that hiding stuff and keeping it hidden is a particular talent born into the royals. Many moons ago, before television and before things like the internet, it did not bother too many people because they simply did not know any better. A king or a queen was the one you worked for and paid taxes to. Those distant, mysterious people you waved flags or lace handkerchiefs to. But the world has changed. Women fought for voting rights and got it. Slavery was abolished, and in most developed countries it is today illegal to discriminate because of sex, age, religion, color, to discriminate full stop. But of course, we would be very, very naive or dumb to think there is absolutely no discrimination left in this world. Of course there is, but with better connectivity also come better understanding. And I think most of us know and realize that it is the rich, the more educated, etc., who also provides the job opportunities and a way to earn a living for others who maybe did not have the same opportunities or the same start in life. One example I would love to quote is the following. It is estimated that Elon Musk is directly providing employment to 110,000 people worldwide. 110,000 people who are paid salaries or wages. When it comes to the royal family, though, it is extremely difficult to even guess how many people can attribute their job or their monthly wage to working for the royal family. And here is why. It is estimated that there are just over 1,200 people employed at the royal residences. Previously, I read that it was 1,200 people at Buckingham Palace only, but it now appears to be hugely overestimated. As a matter of fact, the latest figures are 800 people working at Buckingham Palace, about 150 at Windsor, 50, I think, at Sandringham, and so on and so on. So that actually makes up the 1,200 people. Okay, but many of those people who are allegedly, or shall I say, in inverted commas, working at Buckingham Palace are not employed full time and are just on a list of approved or expert workers, service providers, etc. For instance, it states in numerous books and papers that the Queen employed two clockmakers. No, not really. They are not full-time staff. They are people who are indeed experts, have a history with the palace's clocks, and obviously the many clocks at Buckingham Palace. And if and when a clock stops working, they are either called in or the clock will be taken to them. Otherwise, they only work for the royal family twice per year in March and October, when they face a hectic shift changing the clocks in Buckingham Palace's 775 rooms. It is also true that many of the people working at Buckingham Palace are actually volunteers. Yes, believe it or not, from opening mail to volunteering at exhibitions, etc., etc. Many services at the palaces are provided on a volunteer basis, with only travel expenses reimbursed if you are lucky. Even more surprising, in case you did not already know, is the fact that regardless of the sovereign grant and his income from the Duchy of Lancaster, the king does not pay the wages of all the staff at the palaces. No, he only pays or is only responsible for the wages or the salaries of personal staff and those working on or at his private properties. And I promise you that although a job at one of the palaces indeed look very, very good on a resume, it is certainly not the best paying job you can get. But that is about it. Even the annual financial statement for the monarchy does not shed more detailed light on this. So, what is also factually true is that not only are issues pertaining to the lives of the royal family, for example, what happened to the 12-year-old Edward I, being hidden, but their financial status, income and expenses, to make it simple, are largely equally mysterious. Regardless of the immense amount of the sovereign grant and income from the Duchy of Lancaster and private estates, they still lobby the government for the expenses incurred in many of their private interests or agendas, and their charitable endeavors are mostly funded by the public or business. Therefore, it is only the ignorant and the utterly unaware who are in any way taken in by a headline stating that the Prime Minister is cutting the sovereign grant to 12%. However, regardless of the little bit of honesty in reporting which states that the 12% will likely be worth £126 million in 2026, an increase of 46% in less than 3 years. Yet, although some newspapers quickly figured it out and anyone who knew how to use the calculator quickly did the sums, nowhere in the government statement did it explain that the cut was actually not a cut at all, or that the increase was way, way above the inflation rate. Again, we, and in particular, of course, the British people, need to understand that the Crown Estate is not the personal property of the monarch. It belongs to the Crown, which is a state institution, and not to Charles, an individual. King Charles has no claim to owning the Crown Estate. None. You also need to understand that the Crown Estate does not provide the funding for the monarchy. No, the funding comes from government and is purely linked to the size of the Crown Estate profits, just because it gives some basis for calculation. It could just as well have been linked to the profits of British Airlines or ITV or McDonald's. And it has only been since 2011 that the sovereign grant has been linked to the profit of the Crown Estate. But if only that was the end of it. Now, I'm not going to go into the history of the Duchy of Lancaster and the Duchy of Cornwall, but suffice it to say, for those who are not British and may not know this, the duchies are not private estates belonging to the royal family either. They are also crown properties that originate from the same crown lands as the now Crown Estate. The actual and awful truth is that 1. The sovereign grant as it stands today does not cover all the monarchy's costs. As I said, many expenses are still being paid by the government above and beyond the grant. For example, the coronation, other parades, and official visits. The cost of the monarchy is estimated to be, in reality, approximately £345 million annually, a very heavy burden for a government that states that it cannot provide cost of living wage increases for nurses or other support for needy families. So, where does the solution lie? With the abolishment of the royal family? No, no, of course not. Or shall I rather say, no, not necessarily. In my opinion, the solution lies in transparency and openness and the decentralization of power within the monarchy. Currently, the king basically holds all the power and the decision making power. The monarch is, in fact, in reality, a figurehead, the candle on the cake, the cherry on top, the bow on the gift, and not the content of the parcel. There is absolutely no reason why any money, that which he received from the Duchy of Lancaster and the sovereign grant, and his expenses linked to that particular income, be kept secret. Effectively, the whole of that income from the sovereign grant and the Duchy of Lancaster actually comes directly and indirectly from the public via the government. Therefore, it is my belief it is absolutely in the public interest as to how the money is being spent and how or where it was or is being hoarded. While there are homelessness and poverty in Britain, the use of £126 million from the sovereign grant and plus minus £26 million from the Duchy of Lancaster, a total of £152 million, needs to be accounted for. I've spoken about certain matters before, things like the need and necessity for an office for the Prince's Trust in Washington, which, in my opinion, is an absolute atrocity because British money going to the Prince's Trust in Washington in the United States is money out of circulation in Britain. How many other extravagances are there that could perhaps be scaled down? We don't know because although there are annual statements released, those statements are summaries, and for all we know, the 100,000 or 1.5 million or whatever earmarked for donations may have gone to a terrorist group for all we know, or to a keep Hunter out of jail fund. I mean, we don't know. It's not broken down in the statement released. Currently, all Crown properties occupied by the royal family are run by the royal household and not by the Crown estate. In my opinion, that should be stopped. All staff, except personal staff, like the private secretaries and dressers and stylists, etc., should become employees of the Crown estate. Somehow, I think the British government and the King and his Privy Council should sit down and reevaluate the terms of their agreement. It is virtually a sin to hand over 152 million British pounds to one person and then still have to pay for other frivolities like overseas tours and parades, etc. It is way, way too much. What belongs to the Crown should be managed by the Crown, which consists out of professionals and people who are trained to balance the books. And that, my dears, is how I think we'll eventually have a more sustainable monarchy with less chance to be exploited themselves. Okay, guys, so that's it from me for today. I hope you enjoyed this more serious one. I'll be back tomorrow with some more Harkle debacle. So until then, please take good care of yourself. Bye.